hitting go live.
Yes, I can see it. We're alive.
See it live? Okay. So now this is where I'm going to do my sharing to
Great.
my live. So hello everybody, welcome, welcome. Well, welcome to Supercharge Sunday with me, Emily Mchugh, and my extra special guest, Alex from Vienna, Austria. Wow. Really excited international chunk that we have going on. I'm really today's really Alex, I call her the Queen of Events. Queen of Events. She has earned her title. Trust me, she has. We're going to explore today some more. I'm going to share with you more examples of that. But Alex, welcome, welcome. Let me stop.
Oh, thank you, Emily. It's a great privilege to be here. I always like our chats and interviews, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you and share tips. And I really admire the work you do. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And I will have to tell you guys, I met Alex maybe over a year now through our Facebook interactions, our Facebook connections. And I don't remember what the first contact was, but I do remember we had quite a um, uh, Facebook Messenger exchange through texts. And you were telling me about virtual events and what you do. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. One of these days, I'd love to have something like that. But I
Yeah.
had no idea how, I had no idea when. And so you're like, she says, well, when you're ready, we can stay in touch and you let me know. And maybe about a year or so after, I think you
Mm,
sent me another text sharing some insights of how to go about doing it. I think you sent me like an outline.
mm.
And I was like so impressed that you were so willing to share these things. You just sent it to me. And the more you did that, the more I got clarity on how this could actually work. And I think I ended up taking one of your mini courses or something. And then you helped me with my first virtual retreat, which was last October. And
Mm.
this site back here is where the retreat was. This was at Club Med in Port St. Lucie, Club Med Piper Bay in Florida. And it was thanks to Alex's encouragement, guidance, and just believing that I could do it. It really motivated me to go ahead and launch that Oasis virtual retreat. So Alex, thank you for doing everything the right way. Just culminated in a wonderful experience. So today I just want to share your beautifulness with our lovely supercharged audience and let them also benefit from you too. So
Oh,
tell us what's new in your world. You just got off this amazing blueprint. Tell us about that.
yes, it was quite a work of labor of love. That whole summit, we put it together with Wendy, Carlos, Margaret. I mean, there were quite a few of us putting that event together. It was a live summit. We just finished actually on Friday, so we had the three main days and we had the VIP days afterwards. It was a fantastic, phenomenal event because we had amazing speakers like yourself present on the event. It was a really three packed days of high engagement, of huge, like really great quality information. And yeah, everybody loved it, including the
It
hosts.
it really was amazing, guys. And what it shows you, and what we're going to discuss today about creating vibrant virtual events, this was certainly an example of that. So it
Mm,
shows you that in this new era that we're in, you have to get creative, you have to collaborate. And I think that's one of the things that Wendy was promoting. Wendy Bloom, who did an awesome job. Wendy, Marie, like you said, and Carlos with the tech side, and Alex working her magic, weaving it together. And so it's like the new way things are going to be going forward. And you have to understand the technologies and what people are looking for and what it takes to keep an audience engaged. So a lot of people are like, well, we can't wait till we can get back to meeting in person. Well, that may be all well and good. And even when we do that, there's still going to be a place for virtual events. As a matter of fact, I think it will happen simultaneously. So it's not going away at all. It's going to just grow. So what do you think about that, Alex?
yeah, I agree with you completely because nowadays so many people realize the value of the virtual events. You have access to global audiences from your home. You have access to amazing technologies that allow you to really replicate as close as possible the live event experience in a virtual place. And although, of course, the physical presence is something different and we miss
Yeah,
it,
it
and
is.
there's no way, anything can totally replace it. However, I feel that because virtual events have become at such a great high level, high quality, it's become so easy to just hop on, right, on a Zoom call like this and connect all across the ocean and share your tips, share the expertise with people that you really resonate with. It's gonna continue, absolutely. And new apps like Clubhouse, right, it just proves that things are going into that direction. And even when we're allowed to travel and meet in huge crowds, it's still the virtual elements is going to be an essential part of our life, and it's important to invest into it, and it's important to become proficient in it.
So, Alex, how did you even get into the event space? Tell us a little bit about your background, how you even came into corporate event planning in the first place.
Yeah, well, it wasn't something I planned on doing, going to university. I didn't think like, oh, I want to be a virtual event planner or event planner. I mean, virtual event planner wasn't even possible at that time. So yeah, I did, my university degree, I did the economics, I did a number of corporate jobs, but project management and event planning was always part of it. And I always enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it much more than any other part of the work. Just putting all the pieces together and seeing how the events come about was something really fascinated me. And I really like that adrenaline rush as well, when things don't maybe go as well and you just have to hustle and make it happen. Right. And when it comes to events, usually, I mean, all the event planners will tell you it's not that if something goes wrong, is when something goes wrong. You have to think of your feet, because we all deal with people, we all deal with finite things that you don't always have 100% control, and you just have to accept it, live with it, and make the best out of it. And so the virtual aspect came actually when I had my kids, and I thought, okay, I just give the corporate world a bit of a rest, because having the 9 to 5 and having to worry about a boss to ask for leave days just because your kid is sick, or having to travel and transport 1 hour there, 1 hour back, and just always having that stress that you have to divide yourself between home and work. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a rest and I'll try to do something online. And when I started my research, then I came about the virtual event planning option, and I totally dived into it because I thought, well, if I'm going to do a business, I might as well do something that I like. So that's how it came about.
And you started doing this way before the pandemic. This wasn't just as a response to the pandemic. You were doing this before. So it just kind of took off more now, but I think you've been doing it for a while, correct, right?
Yes, I was. And I was doing webinars and summits and retreats, personal and live as well, on distance, like in virtually. So I could see very much that shift that happened with the pandemic, and how the whole virtual event space really changed in the last year, how firstly saturated it has become, but also
Mhm.
what new elements have come in. Because what I find is fascinating is since a lot of in-person event planners had to come into the virtual event planning space, they brought in their ideas and their perspectives. So things are becoming to merge, because there was a certain established formula, if you want, in the virtual event space, a way to do things, and it was challenged with this new people with their new expertise coming in, which I find very exciting.
What would you say would be the most challenging for someone who is making the transition from just planning in-person events to now planning virtual events? What would be the hardest part for them to make the shift, would you say?
Probably one of them is technology, right? Finding out the what works, how it works, and what's the best, because there are quite a lot of options out there. None of them is perfect, of course. So you're making the choice, giving the budget, giving your event objectives, what technology you're going to use, and learning that technology is a great challenge. And secondly, I feel that you have to switch your thinking, because especially if it's a live event, it can't work the same in the virtual and in an in-person space, because in the virtual space you have such a short attention span, and people are just tired of these, webinar type of presentations that last for ages. Then you just, after 20 minutes, you switch off and say, okay, that's it, right? So in the virtual space, you have to have so much more diversity, and it's so much harder to engage people because we're sitting now on the computer, and even those who are watching us, maybe they have that interview in the background, they might be checking the Facebook, the Instagram, maybe the kid comes in,
Yeah.
so it's so much harder to gain the attention and retain the engagement of the participants because they have a lot of distractions as well that you can't control, right? If you sit in a conference room and say everybody switch off your mobiles, then okay, you have more or less their full attention, you can control certain things, whereas in a virtual environment it's so much harder to do so.
So that speaks to the whole idea of the engagement and having people, and then the right target market, because if you have the right people sitting there, they will want to make the extra effort that it does take to engage and participate in what's being offered. So it's kind of a two-way street. So you kind of spend that extra time to qualify your audience as well.
Yes,
To
absolutely.
it becomes even more refined. So Alex, I have to say that, first of all, I could go on all day with what I think of you. I think so highly of you. I respect your professionalism, and people, I do not dis- dispense with felicitations of this kind freely where it's not deserved. So let me tell you, when I pile on the level of feelings that I have regarding Alex's talent, it's well deserved, because you have exhibited under many different conditions. You're always calm. You're calm, and you maintain your composure, which I can't always say for myself, but you certainly do that, and it's a wonderful example of how you maintain that professionalism. And as you said, like, things will go wrong, things, you can expect them to go wrong, but you're able to maintain the composure. So how do you do that? How do you maintain that calm feeling and essence that you have at all times?
Well, Emily, for once, thank you so much for these kind words. And it really means a lot to me, your opinion and what you think of me. I mean, we've worked together for a while, and it's been always such a great pleasure. And I think it's so great to find a familiar soul, right? Even across the ocean, but it's really means a lot. So thank you so much. Yeah, in terms of the composure, well, I think it's practice, honestly. It's just because I've been in the event space. So I've been, of course, in the offline and then the online for quite a while. And you know that you can control certain things, right? And you know that you can't control other things. And basically, it's just being solution driven. So if you have a certain output or goal in mind, it's better if you panic, then you lose your time and then you lose the clarity. So for me, is that okay? We have a problem, we have to find a solution, and kind of that helps me to keep the composure and not to get into the emotions.
Right. That's an extremely important life lesson, actually, and a life tip way beyond just virtual events or event planning, but a way of living in life. I think it's something we can definitely all practice, and I will do that. I will work to do that. When your instinct is to panic and to wonder, like, how am I going to do this? Switch into solution mode, just like you said, and that definitely takes practice, and it's worth practicing too, for absolutely. And what do you like the most? Now, you did say you like the adrenaline rush of planning events, but what kind of drives you overall to what makes you excited about doing events like this? Because it can get very complicated, it can get very stressful, and all kinds of things that for certain people who don't have the disposition to do it. What drives you about the virtual event space?
I must say it's the relationships, all in all. Given all the benefits the virtual events or even events have, I think the relationships at the end of the day is the most valuable asset we take with us. Because even from the last event that we just had, right, the summit last year, the business blueprint, I mean, I've made such amazing relationships with speakers that I haven't known before. I got to know the speakers that I knew before much better, and it just became friendships. And actually, we're going on other new ventures in the next month or so, just because we worked so well together for this one. I got to know the audience members, and because it was a live event, so it was much easier to interact and engage with the audience. So I got to know amazing experts who participated, engaged, and I learned a lot from them as well. So I think the relationships is just the most valuable thing that you get from these virtual events, and you really treasure them. They will take you a long way, personally, business wise. It's really an invaluable source.
And I definitely have to second that. And Alex, I really appreciate having been able to participate in the Business Blueprint Summit, because it really brought together for 3 days 30 speakers from literally around the world. You had New Zealand, you had South Africa, you again in Austria, me in Florida, a lot of us here in Florida. Wendy was in Florida, Carlos in Miami, New Zealand. I mean, it didn't end. India, you just pick a place, Malaysia, and someone was from there. So you had all these time zones to manage and work with. You had a lot of moving parts, and as you say, the relationships is really what results, because you see who you resonate with, who you connect with during that space. And it's not about whether it's digital or virtual or not. You're looking for the relationship, period. Like who is offering some value that I can take away. And I would like to share with you that today I went through some of my notes from that summit, and I literally started to implement it today, and piecing together nuggets from different speakers, and like, wait a minute, this fits with this one, this fits with this one, and then you put your whole system together as far as what works for you. But I can tell you it was very tangible, it was very valuable. And in my session I did 3 tips for supercharging your systems and speaking to entrepreneurs. And what I find is that people need a place to organize themselves, and we all need different things at different times. So maybe someone is super organized here, but they have an issue here, or they're not organized and they need that. So you put together what you need to create a system that works for yourself. So I applaud the fact that you were able to bring all these people together. So how did you get to the place of the collaboration with Wendy, with Marit and Carlos? How did that come together, that collaborative force?
Yeah, well, it was also about the relationships that we've built online. And most of them were actually quite short-term relationship. You just kind of feel that you click with the people, and then we decided to do an event, and the idea of the business blueprint came along, and we just said we're just going to do it. We did it in a bit of an insane time frames. I must admit, I wouldn't advise anybody to do that, but we had a whole team, and everybody was doing their part, so it worked. But of course, for anybody who wants to do it the first time or doesn't have a huge team with them, just spread it out a little bit. It can get stressful, but it is exciting actually when you have partners to work with, because you have somebody to lean on. So if you're hosting, I've hosted events by myself, and it's exciting, it's nice, but if you have a partner, you can always bounce off ideas, you compare strategies, you learn from each other. I learned so much during this time because everybody has their area of expertise, their vision, and everybody brings their little nuggets into it, their ideas, and that's why it become such an interesting event, because it's a collaborative approach of different people combining their talents into one pot.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And you're able to share the love, if you will, and share each other's expertise. So how would you, if we were to dive into these top 3 tips of creating vibrant virtual events, what would those be? Because I know that there can be many more than 3, but some of the key ones.
Some of the key ones. Well, I would say the one that I always start with is start with your why,
Mhm.
because it's essential with whatever you do, and events, of course, is not an exception, is knowing your why, because the why will inform your how and your what. And you have
Exactly.
to start from that core question, and hopefully that why aligns also with your business vision, with your purpose. Because if the event that you're hosting, especially it actually goes for any type of event that you're hosting, be it a Facebook Live, be it a webinar, because if you are a strategic business owner, you want it all to be aligned. You want to have your voice heard, and you want for your audience to know what you're standing for, what your vision is, what your purpose is, why you're actually doing your business. An event and a virtual event is no exception. And of course, it's even more important for a bigger virtual event like a summit or a retreat, because the people have to know why you're doing it. Being there in the event, they need to understand your core value, and that will inform how you put on the event and what outcomes are you going to have afterwards.
Absolutely. So that is, so really it's about alignment again with your business plan, your business model. It shouldn't be something so tangential that it doesn't relate.
Mm,
It should be a continuum, and it allows you to have that extra clarity as to why you would even want it in the first place and what you want to have come as a result. Because you don't just do it randomly to just do it. You want something to have come from that. So
absolutely. And especially because in the event, you're attracting a certain audience, and you touched upon it in the beginning of the interview about bringing in your tribe, bringing in your crowd for that particular event. And it's so important that your ideal people are there, right? So you want your people, your community to be there, because virtual events are an amazing opportunity to build community, right? And actually, my tip number two is you have to build community around the events. You can't just have a summit just they're pre-recorded and people watch it, they go away, maybe they leave some comments, maybe not. It would
yeah,
have worked 2 years ago, maybe even a year ago, it would have been okay. It's not going to work anymore because the
yeah.
expectations are different. Things have changed so much in this past year, and all of us are really hungry for communication, for relationships, for conversations with people. We all want to share our story, and it's so important that you give also the audience members the opportunity to share the story. So
Mhm.
even if you're having a summit, of course you have the expert speakers, but the people in the audience are also experts. I mean, most of them, right? They would be able to
Yeah.
give a talk, a session on their area of expertise. They come to your summit because they want to learn something new. So respecting that and leveraging it and bringing it out is a crucial part of having a successful and vibrant event. Mm.
That part, right? Because you want to have people you want to interact with as well. So what is one thing to connect with the speakers is another thing to connect with people who are actually attending, and we were able to do that through the comments. People writing comments, you're able to engage that way. So it was very vibrant, and also we could speak to each other with that platform that we were on, the Hopin platform. That really lent itself very well to that. And also the thing about it, so many people think, if they just create an event, build it and they will come. So not only do you have to build it, but you got to bring that audience along and know who you're trying to attract, or at least have a baseline audience, and then you can grow from there. So that's right, a
Yeah,
critical part.
absolutely. Yeah, so the baseline audience, I like that you're saying that, because that's something I also mention to my clients, is that often we don't know our audience well enough, even though everybody talks about your ideal audience, your ideal of avatar. But for most of the entrepreneurs, online entrepreneurs, especially those who are starting out, you don't know your ideal client that well yet, right? So, and sometimes it shifts. Sometimes it's, it can be a certain age group that you actually didn't think of that you're going to be attracting. But having a baseline, right, a certain avatar in mind for
Mm-hmm.
whom you're doing that event will help you to clarify it. And even if you're not quite right, it's also a great opportunity for you to learn. It's a stepping stone. And then you will know from the event who actually was attracted, who participated the most, who got the most value. I've actually learned so much about my audience from the events, and certain things I didn't expect I would learn, or certain things that I didn't expect I was attracting these kind of people. And then I thought, maybe I should focus on this target group more, because these are actually the people that just come to me, that I don't have to make any effort in attracting. And this is an amazing way for you to get to know them and for them to get to know you, because an event is all about creating that know, like, and trust. Through the conversations, through the emails, through the posts, through the community, both ways. So audience gets to know you, you get to know the audience, and you kind of mold it into a whole amazing experience.
And it's beautiful because it's something to build on.
Mm.
It's not just becomes like this one time thing. You want to think of it from a long term perspective. So the immediate experience, yes, but you want to have it as something to launch forward for other things going forward. Kind of a relationship that you're going to cultivate, a community you're
Absolutely.
going to develop, so, and nurture, and find ways to do that. So what would be the big vibrant tip number three, following on from the first two?
It's actually going to be quite a practical one, is testing, right? So, with any event, right, if you have a live conference, in-person conference, you test the technology, you test the rooms, you test the lines, you know where you put the tables, the chairs, you kind of have the picture of where people will go, where they will come in, how they're going to interact, where you're going to have the advertisement, the posters. So you have that whole scenario. Well, you have to think the same way in a virtual event space. You have to test things out and you have to imagine that people, even though they're coming to your virtual platform, your virtual landing page, you have to create for them an experience that will lend itself for them to come to enjoy and to stay with you. And the best way, of course, is through testing. So if you have a pre-recorded event, just test all the things that happen. So they come, they sign up. Where do they go? Does it work? Do all the buttons work? Right? Are all the buttons in the right place? Do the payments or the email automations trigger the right sequences, right? Are there
Mhm.
no faults? And it might sound obvious, but even if you have done events many times, there's always little slips that happen, especially, for example, if you're doing it on your own, and if you're building that landing page, you've looked at that landing page, I don't know, 1,000 times, and you don't notice mistakes anymore. So what I would advise, bring in some trusted people to walk through that path, to have a look at your page, at how you're presenting the event. Are you doing it pre-recorded? Are you doing it Zoom? Do you have a chat box? All these aspects, get somebody from the outside to test it, to run through with that person, and then I'm sure they will notice some things that you can maybe tweak, improve, so that the whole process runs smoother when you actually go live. And of course, if you have a live summit, then that's essential, right? You have to make sure that the speakers know the technology, that everybody knows where what is happening. You have to do dry runs, so that's absolutely essential. And of course, the testing actually also goes for the marketing part. um, ideally, you would want to try the marketing campaign a little bit earlier than your speakers, just in case you need to tweak certain things, and you can do like little buzz mini campaigns before, so you know how people react. So maybe there's something you need to change. Maybe there's certain language that appeals to people more. So yeah, that would definitely help.
Wow. So with all of those things, that's why they need someone like you to help them along the way, because there is so much. There's so many aspects. And clearly, obviously, people can put on all kinds of events, but it depends what level of event you're trying to create as well, what effect you want it to have, and then the level of professionalism as well. So we know that we want to have professional events. We want to have the best, highest caliber we can. But we also know that you don't wait until it's perfect to start it. You got to get going, and you learn from your mistakes, you learn from the experience, and knowing that as you go forward, it will just get better. So what would you say to someone who's like really scared about this whole thing, virtual events, the technology, the marketing, the landing pages, the works? What would you say to someone who might feel overwhelmed by that process?
I would say start small. Like you rightly say, it's so important to start, because unless you actually do it, you don't know exactly all the little details, all the little aspects that go into planning an event. So get your feet wet. Start with a small event, right? Start with a workshop, right? If you haven't done a workshop, start with a mini summit, have 3 4 people, or have a panel, right? You can name it anything. You don't have to name it a summit. You can name it a conference. You can have it, name it an accelerator. You can name it a retreat, right? I mean, you can name it a 1 day retreat, just for somebody who wants to learn to write, for example, who wants to learn to paint. It can be anything. So just start small, and then once you feel comfortable, grow bigger and make a larger event. Maybe it can be a challenge, a bootcamp, and then a summit, because each event has its own aspects, right? In the summit, you're dependent on the speakers from the outside. And the challenge and bootcamp is mostly yourself. So you have to pull in a lot of weight. So it also depends what are you prepared more to do and what makes more sense for your business. I mean, for you,
That those
you did an amazing job. Like with the retreat, I was absolutely amazed because we spoke about it, and then you just like went there and booked the Club Med, and you just had all these classes lined up, and you have it all arranged, and there in a week time you're already doing the life experiences and stream, and it was amazing. I mean, I gave you advice, but you're the one who implemented, and it was so well done in such a short amount of time. And it just shows that it all comes to taking action. I mean, you did a fabulous job. It was really, really blew my mind.
it blew my mind too, Alex. After I was done, I was like, okay, my mind is blown. Yeah, no, no, thank you so much, Alex. I have to tell you that it was I was scared. I was scared at first. I'm like, oh my lord, what am I doing? Suppose no one comes. Suppose no one signs up. Suppose all these things that all these reasons. Suppose I'm just there by myself. But even if you are there by yourself, you have to launch. And for those of you who are just joining us later on, you started off talking about that I did my Oasis virtual retreat last October at Club Med, Sandpiper Bay in Florida. And the scene you see behind me is Sandpiper Club Med, Sandpiper Bay. And that's what it looks like. And for those of you who still want the experience, it is available to you on Facebook. You just go to emilymchugh.com/retreats, and you can still benefit from this summit. You can still jump into this picture where I am. But Alex, I have to tell you, as I said, I started off, I was nervous. I wasn't sure which way it was going to go, but I knew that and one of the things that you said to me that made a big difference was you're like, you're going to learn. So just do it. Whatever happens, you're going to learn anyway. And that gave me a certain confidence and comfort to know that I didn't have to have that heavy pressure to have this result and that result and this had to happen. Just by virtue of doing it was enough of a result. And then, as you said, you would learn and going through the motions and realize that it is a lot involved, way more than you would think. And also what's funny is that you can get very ambitious. Like I would say, okay, we're going to do 8 a.m. yoga. But little did I know that 8 a.m. yoga meant me doing all the yoga, sweating up a storm, falling apart on the camera. So, be careful how ambitious you get and so on. And then you realize what it really takes, that you have to make an experience real for someone else. It really takes a lot out of you. So you may need a vacation after your own retreat because you got to recover. Which is true. It's true. You're working the whole time, and you really are. But it was wonderful. It was a great experience, and there's nothing quite like, you say, going through the paces of something you have in your head, and then once you do it, and then when you do it the next time, you become a veteran and you get better. And so, but Alex, those strategically placed words, like you will learn, you can use this as a launch place, and it goes far. It goes really, really far to help people's confidence, help them have more clarity on their own vision, and just believe things to be possible, which before you would maybe just imagine over and over, but now it actually can take place. So now I'm planning the next one, right? I am planning, and let me announce to all within my hearing, the next one, my mega retreat, which I'm hoping will take place in the fall of 2021 in Jamaica. That is the goal. Oh yes, we have to go all the way. But my family's from Jamaica, and I've wanted to do some kind of retreat in Jamaica for many years. So we'll see if it happens this year. But I'm starting the wheels are turning. So Alex will be hearing from me more about that. But I do think that, um, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll
see,
give
no,
it.
I'm looking forward to it. And what I like about it is actually you create an experience. I mean, what you've done was actually quite a novel idea, right? So you didn't just do a retreat from your house. You actually went to a place to create an experience for other people. And I think nowadays, especially when we're still restricted in travel, this is a really great way for people to be more engaged, to have more fun. And we were all spotting things like, well, you were taking us on a walk around the Club Med, and we were spotting things we're talking about. And right, it entices conversations, makes it interesting, gives you certain emotions, prepares you for something. And it just has such huge bouquet of fantastic techniques in that, to engage, to connect, to learn. Um, it's fantastic to use it, and you've done such an amazing job at that. And of course, yes, you're right, all this, I mean, when you start with the events, it is very easy to be very ambitious because you want to give the max value, you want for the people to have so much great experience, this and that. I wanted to give you all, but you rightly said that actually sometimes giving them a little bit less is even better because they will be able to really take it in much more and appreciate it. So yeah, pace things out.
That is a critical point. Less is very much more, and to allow people the chance to absorb, just to absorb and maybe relish the experience. Sometimes we feel like we have to just ultra plan everything out to the point where every minute is accounted for, but people need a chance just to reflect
Hmm.
and to kind of soak it in. So yes, and that takes pressure off yourself as an event planner, and also allows your audience that very needed breathing room,
Yeah.
doesn't really happen at a lot of events because you really are trying to condense so much in a short space of time. So kind of building that in. So yeah, I think that was definitely a very transformative experience for me as well, because you want to also create something that you personally enjoy. I'm sure you, Alex, like if you've attended hundreds, thousands of events in your life, and when you go to them and as you plan them, you're thinking of what would I benefit from, like, or what would I personally like to experience, and that helps to guide you, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, of course, you have your audience in mind, what you want to get out of it, but you also have to say, okay, if I'm the audience, will I like it? Because very often we're just kind of the host, the planner. So putting that step back and saying, okay, now when I'm here, okay, will I actually enjoy, waking up early every day for 7 days a week to be there for the training? So maybe it's better to space things out, or maybe have like an evening chat, like we had at the summit, the fireside chat, which was really popular,
Yes,
right? To
yes,
create
it was.
a
It
host
was wonderful.
atmosphere. So what I would say is try diverse things. Don't try them all at once, and don't try too many of them, but do try one or two diverse session types. Experiment a little bit. Maybe bring in something new that you haven't done before, just to see how the audience responds. Because if they respond very positively, then you'll definitely repeat it. Like these fireside chats, oh, definitely gonna do that again because it was
Yes.
such a fantastic experience. Everybody enjoyed it a lot. So you live and learn. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You
Hmm.
have to try things out. Don't overdo it, but still move forward and definitely think about the experience that you're giving the audience. And with an event like that for yourself, for example, you can repurpose it, right? You repurposed it. It's a course now, right? The retreat that you can
Yeah.
purchase. So
Yes.
yeah, they're thinking long term, right? So it's not finishes there. You can actually use it for something else for the long run. It's an evergreen product now. You don't have to do anything anymore. You just enjoy the clicks in the bank account whenever somebody purchases it. So yeah, why not?
But it's also the idea of, like, when you're saying what works with people, why that fireside was so great is because number one, it had the air of relaxation.
Mm.
But even though we were learning about podcasts with Vince Warnock all the way in New Zealand, he was telling us about the whole podcasting techniques and things. But so you could think, oh, this is a workshop, but it didn't feel like a workshop because it was a fireside chat. So it was the same content, but just delivered in a more eased atmosphere, and it really worked very well. I think that was a really great approach to doing it. And so you
Yeah.
can still, yeah, present content, but just in different ways, and will take a little bit of the weight off the feeling of sitting again. Like, oh, no, it's really sitting there. It's a fireside thing. So even in your mind, you have that.
Yeah, and setting the scene. I mean, how important it was that two of our participants, they had the fire set right? On the back, right? So it goes back to also your retreat, how important it was actually for you to relocate, to make it really a retreat experience. So those, let's say the ambiance that you create, even though it's virtual, it's still important because it delivers a certain message. And having
Yeah.
these firesides, having that fire there at the back, and for some of them it was a bit of a dim light, it added to it. And of course, having people all on camera and being able to chat, so it wasn't only one person talking, but people were exchanging experiences, like you walk into a lounge, right, and you just
Right,
chat.
exactly. Exactly. It was very much like that. And I know. So Alex, what is next? After you've done this amazing summit, the Blueprint Summit, what are some of the things that you're doing next, and how do people find you? How can
Mhm.
they follow you? And by the way, I don't know if on your page if you got any questions or anything, because I can't like see anything while I'm doing this. So if anyone's saying anything, I can't really see.
Right.
Um
I see
but
there were some comments in the
okay.
beginning, but let me,
Okay.
doesn't
Do
open
we
for
have
me
any questions?
anymore.
Then we'll make sure to come back to what you were just saying as well.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody watches the replays afterwards, they can just tag me and I'll be happy to hop on and answer any of the comments later.
Okay,
Um,
so we'll do that. So yeah, so what's next? How do people find you and so forth?
yeah. So, well, I've got a group which I treasure a lot. And it's a group that connects summit hosts and speakers. And it has become a really nice, really supporting community for people where we can talk about summits, about events, where we find speakers. And actually, for this last summit that I did, 2/3 of the speakers came from that group. So I'm using that group
Wow.
actively.
Yes. So tell
So
us the
two
name of the group
thirds,
again.
yeah.
Virtual.
Virtual virtual summits collaboration.
Yes, yes.
Yes, that's the one. And people now post whenever they are looking for speakers. So they post, they're looking for this kind of speakers. People comment, people find matches. Sometimes people ask about events. We also have a possibility for summit hosts to promote their summits. So because I know that it's hard, right? The promotion, the marketing part, it's a challenging aspect. So I also
Yeah.
wanted to give the summit hosts a platform to actually share about the events and to give them more visibility. So yeah, and we have expert interviews and also lives I do from time to time to give some tips. So yeah, it's a nice group to hang out. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want more in-depth understanding on planning your virtual events, definitely follow Alex at our Virtual Summits Collaborative Facebook group, and you'll get that as well. And Alex, you're going to also, and so what's coming after the summit, Blueprint Summit? You guys are doing another program, correct?
Yes, well, there's going to be a coaching program and academy related to that summit, and we're probably going to repeat it again. We haven't decided on the dates yet, but we definitely I'm going to repeat the experience just because everybody loved it so much, and we want to continue. But of course, the major part of it was the speakers, because I'm so thankful to all the speakers, to yourself and everybody else, all the other 29 that were there, because every single one of them, every single one without exception, shared amazing tips, amazing insights. They were very much involved in the process. A lot of them came in and out of the conference, participated in some of the sessions, and it was really a truly rewarding experience for myself as a host. And I also hope for the speakers, we had amazing feedback from them. And yeah, I'm just grateful that it was none of the presentations were just high level or whatever. I'm just going to do quickly webinar style and just go. Everybody gave really great tips. For every single one, the audience members were just thrilled with the amount of information they received. So I'm really grateful for that.
It was definitely high level practical implementable items. And I have to say that last week we had Martine was Kade, she was our supercharger last week, and I know Martine did an amazing workshop also at the Blueprint Summit, and so talking about Facebook and growing relationships organically. So that's also a part of what you're doing with these virtual events, as you said before. So you want to like recap these top three again so we have them, our audience can remember what they are.
Yeah.
Just start with your what?
So start with your why, build a community, and test things out before your event.
So you guys, if you didn't get all of that, go back and listen to always listen to these supercharged Sundays because they are supercharged with so much information. Our guests are so talented and skilled professionals, really skilled in their crafts, and you're sharing really valuable insights that can help supercharge any event, large or small, and allow people to find a way to actually get started. So if you're planning an event and you need some support and you want some professional support, I encourage you to reach out to Alex because she will do an amazing job for you. And you once you start, you'll realize how much help you truly need. but I can't speak highly enough of what you do, and also the fact that it's so timely. And now more than ever, we have to create things that are interesting and fun and vibrant, and not just put it up because we're expected to do it, but actually make it something that people want to attend and participate in. So that's really exciting. Let's see. I do wish I could go and look, but I can't. Never mind. I don't want to get distracted by if anyone's asking anything, I don't want you to feel ignored. We'll definitely look at it later, but I really appreciate everyone who's come on here to watch and to be with us today. So I come with to you every Sunday, live Supercharge Sunday, and I invite people to join my group, Supercharge with Emily. If you want to be featured on here, Supercharge, just come on the group. Let me know how you supercharge, and we'll supercharge you on here as well. And also, if you want to download some supercharge daily tips, I have that on my website, emilymchugh.com. Just go over there, or also superchargedemily.com, which I have right here somewhere there. Anyway, so Alex, don't forget you can follow her in her group. And what's your page too, Alex? It's just your name, Alexandra, right?
My page, yeah, it's just better my personal profile. I mean, I have the Facebook page. It's Virtual Events Coach.
Well,
Also, my Instagram is Virtual Events Coach. They're all Virtual Events Coach, just so that it's easy to find. But the Facebook page is just there, to promote
right.
things. Most of the
Excellent.
action actually happens in the group, or I also give tips on the Instagram.
Well, that's really great. And I'm glad that you're also a coach. Not only can you plan events for people, but for those who want to like maybe do their own events, but they need some guidance and some insight, you can help them that way. So that's another great way that people can work with you too, Alex, as well.
Yeah.
DIY kind of way and do it for you.
Do it for you, do
So
it with you, do it for you. I also have that planning offer where I just plan things out. So if somebody wants to do it themselves, but they want to make sure that the plan works, because that's really the main part, right? To make sure that all the pieces are together, all the steps, when what is happening with the deadlines. So that's something I can prepare, and all you have to do is just implement, right? So I work with you directly on a really detailed plan for your event.
And I think that's one of the things you did with me, and that helped so much. It helps so much because then you have to take some of the guesswork out of there. Like, am I doing it right? Did I cover my bases? Did I remember this? Did I remember that? And so and actually, as a matter of fact, so detailed you were that I didn't even remember all the things that you did, and I went and started to do stuff again. I'm like, if I had just gone and looked at what she did, I would not have had to have done that from scratch. But you really did cover the bases. So thinking through things and making it easier for everybody who wants to implement that. So,
Yeah.
Alex, I really thank you. Can't thank you enough. And do you have any other last words or tips? Oh, by the way, before she does that, if you want an extra tip, come and visit Supercharge with Emily during the week. Alex will have something extra special for you in there. Yes, she will. But that's only for our extra special superchargers. So that to encourage you if you're starting a business, new to business, this is a place you want to come and visit and check out what we have to offer over there. Yes, Alex, any last thoughts you want to share with us?
I just want to reemphasize that virtual events are really the greatest vehicle to build relationships. So whatever you put on the event, whatever your goal is, if you want to build your list or create profits, launch a product, do not forget that you're gonna have amazing relationships if you nurture them correctly throughout the event afterwards. That will actually take you so much further than anything else, than any of the short or medium term goals that you might have put yourself.
Wow. Well, you've heard it from the expert herself. She just told you what you need to do. So Alex, thank you for this delightful time and for sharing all these great insights with us. So everybody, I will see you next week on Supercharged Sunday when we'll have another extraordinary supercharger joining us. In the meantime, stay supercharged and see you next time.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
It was great having you, Alex. Thanks so much.